Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Zelensky's statements that he made 4 days ago. On the 15th of October, Zelensky reported that the Koreans is effectively entering the war against Ukraine. Korea is actually joining the war on the Russian side. Among the main things was the intelligence report, the Foreign Intelligence Service and the main intelligence directorate on the intentions of Russians for the fall of winter. So this is very interesting, and 4 days ago nobody was listening to Zelensky because his statements about Korea was something from fantastic, something like unbelievable. But starting on the 18th of October, we are receiving more and more updates about the real situation with this country. And for example, yesterday we got the first video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and in this video, according to the Ukrainian author, we can see the Korean soldiers on some military base of the armed force of Russian Federation in the eastern part of Russia. And according to the author of this video, this is something like military exercises for Korean soldiers. Later we got additional updates that's from the South Korean media Yonhap. They reported that around 1,500 Korean soldiers have been sent to the territory of Russia. And as for the 19th of October, we continue receiving additional updates. We have the map that shows the roads of redeployment of Korean soldiers from the country to the Russian Federation. And starting of the 19th of October, more and more sources are saying that from 10 till 15,000 Korean soldiers will join the special military operation. And in the end we got another video, and in this video we can see the significant number of soldiers that were getting Russian uniform, Russian weapon, and were sent to the military centers and for training exercises. The sources are saying that the Korean soldiers the Russians are planning to use in the Kursk direction, most likely with the purpose to attack and to storm the city of Sudzha. Obviously the Russians understand they don't have enough of time, they don't have a lot of time like to fight for Sudzha for months, or let's say to finish the battle somewhere in the middle of 2025. The Russians most likely will try to take under control the city of Sudzha by the end of the 2024, and the Russians have just 2 months, and most likely this is the reason they probably hired the Korean forces for these purposes, because they will plan to attack the city from many directions and they will try to conduct a rapid attack. Now let's discuss about the situation on the ground, and we have a lot of updates from the eastern part of Sudzha. The Russian forces launched a full-scale offensive operation leading to the broad front-line attack. The Russians during the previous day and night were attacking the cities, the towns of Sudzha agglomeration, like Pokrovsk, like Agronom, like Cherkasska, Ruska Konopelka, like Mykolaievka and Martinovka. And as you can see, we have additional changes on the ground. As for Pokrovsk, the different pro-Russian resources have already confirmed Russian managed to force the Ukrainians to fall back from the settlement and to take this territory under complete control. As for the geolocations, we have just several videos of how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions on the territory of the settlement without any geolocation that can confirm additional progress. So let's wait. Most likely this information is correct. We just need to get additional video or maybe some or neutral or reliable mappers to update the territory. As for geolocations, that videos that show real progress, we're talking about the line between Mikhailovka and Ruska Konopelka. In this video we can see Russian attack with the significant use of armored vehicles and personal carriers that were attacking towards the village of Agronom through the fields, and the Ukrainians sent FPV drones and Baba Yaga drones to stop the Russians, and the entire video we might see how the Ukrainians were bombing and attacking the Russian forces. A little bit further in the northern direction we have Russian attack towards the village of Mikhailovka. The Russians were using the significant number of armored vehicles. They managed to land their infantry exactly in this point. Different mappers have already adjusted their maps also in Russian favor, and every single adjustment is take place exactly in this area. Now let's talk about the northwestern flank. We have additional progress on the ground here as well. According to neutral mappers, the Ukrainians managed to break through the encirclement of from the southeastern part of the village of Tolstoluk and Lyubimovka, and to get the village of Sverdlikova. This territory was recaptured by the Russians according to different neutral mappers. I remind you that yesterday we got geolocation that confirms that the Russians managed to encircle the Ukrainians in the northern cauldron. There are a significant number of Ukrainians were encircled, and during the next few days we might not see any additional progress on the ground because the Russians will be focused on destroying this cauldron or forcing the Ukrainians to surrender. Now let's move further and let's talk about the northern Kupiansk direction. We have a lot of very interesting updates from this territory, and of course the main updates are coming from the river of Oskol. For example, yesterday we got first geolocations that confirmed Russian progress in the northern part of the village of Kurakhove. Pro-Ukrainian sources published a lot of videos of how the Ukrainians were bombing the Russian forces on the territory of the village, and based on this video we have adjusted the map in Russian favor. But today on the 19th of October the Ukrainian sources published another video. This is the video, and in this video we can see the Ukrainian special forces that were counter-attacking the Russian positions on the territory of these streets that yesterday we colored in Russian favor. In this video we can see a lot of episodes of how the Ukrainians were clearing the streets in the northern part of Kurakhove, and there are a lot of geolocations, a lot of episodes. Most of them were geolocated. Every single building that Ukrainians managed to clear was geolocated as well, and based on this video we have adjusted the map in the gray zone, because currently we don't know for sure the chronology of videos that were published by the Ukrainians. Of course, as for dates, yesterday we got the video of how Ukrainians were FPV droning. Today we have the video how the Ukrainians were clearing the territory, but we are not 100% sure that this is the chronology. Maybe the chronology is completely opposite. So as for now, we're going to keep this area as a gray zone until additional clarifications and additional geolocations. Now let's move further. We have additional progress on the ground on the line between Novosadov and Yanpolovka. The Russian forces managed to improve their positions, and this information was confirmed by the neutral mappers. Now let's move further to in the southern direction. There are very heavy clashes in the city of Chasiv Yar. The Russians continue bombing and attacking the main citadel of the city with the use of FAP 500 and FAP 1500, and currently this is the most focused area of Russian artillery strikes. This is the picture on the 18th of October. The Russians were bombing the central part. This is the picture on the 17th of October. So the number and the focus of Russian artillery and aviation in the central part give us understanding that most likely the Russians are about to enter the citadel and are about to finish the battle for the city of Chasiv Yar itself. As for the Toretsk, almost every single day we start receiving updates from the northern part of the city, and in this video we can see several Russian FPV drone attacks on Ukrainian vehicles and Ukrainian forces in the northern part of Toretsk, and we see that the Russians are moving focus further and closer to the end of the city. Now let's move to the Pokrovsk direction, and the situation is very difficult, remains very difficult for the Ukrainians in the city of Selidova. During the previous night we got another batch of videos of how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions with FPV drones and with FAP in the northern part. I'll remind you that during the previous days the Russians made a lot of attempts to encircle the city of Selidova from the south and the southeast, and from the north and the northeast, and most likely the Russians either managed to encircle the Ukrainians or about to finish the encirclement. As for now we haven't received anything that can confirm Russian physical encirclement of Selidova, but the Russians are very close to this. Let's talk about the village of Tsukurina. During the previous night we got additional confirmation that the Russians managed to improve their positions in the western farms of Tsukurina. This information was provided by neutral mappers. As for the Kurakhove direction and the south Kurakhove direction, we have a lot of updates. Pro-Ukrainian mappers confirm Russian progress in the village of Maximilianovka. I'll remind you that yesterday the Russian sources published the video with the Russian flag in the most central part, and the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation also confirmed complete control over the settlement. But as for pro-Ukrainian sources, they're still saying that the Russians control just 40 or 45% of the settlement, and the most western part of the village still consists considered by the Ukrainians as a gray zone. Yesterday in the evening, we got very interesting information from the village of Katerinovka that was published by the 79th Air Mobile Brigade that is responsible for the protection of this direction. They're saying that the Ukrainian forces sat in Katerinovka for a week and a half without rotation. Sleepless nights under artillery and drones exhausted the fighters, the Ukrainians, who were already thinking only about replacement. Without waiting for either rotation or reserves, the Ukrainians entered into unequal battle with the Russians, and they stormed to the village with a massive assault, used armored vehicles, and consolidated their positions. About 10 of our guys from 79th Brigade surrendered. Katerinovka is now completely in the Russian hands. So according to very reliable pro-Ukrainian sources, the village of Katerinovka was captured by the Russians yesterday. We have adjusted the map as a gray zone. We are waiting for additional clarifications, but most likely today either the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation will confirm this, or we're going to receive additional video with the flag. In the Vuhledar direction, we have small changes on the ground in Russian favor. The Russians are trying to improve their positions to the northwest of the village, trying to get as close as possible to the supply road between Novoukrayinka and Bagayavlenka itself. As for the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Ukrainian sources are saying that the Russians continue moving further in the northern direction with the purpose to attack Novodarivka. This information was confirmed both by pro-Russian sources and by pro-Ukrainian sources. As for the Ukrainians, they are saying that the Russians are using light vehicles, light infantry on the motorcycles, and this is the reason they are so successful. The Ukrainians basically don't have enough of FPV drones and forces to stop fast lightning Russian progress, fast lightning Russian rapid attacks in this direction. Most likely during the next weeks we are going to see additional progress on the ground in Russian favor towards the main supply road between the village of Velika Novoselovka and Gulai Pole. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.